No, you didn't read the title wrong. I will not be talking about anime in this video. Wait, come back! I promise I'll make another Hero Waka video? Phew. This is probably not what you've come to expect from me, but hopefully I can still entertain you, because trust me, this is not going to be as, let's say, analytical as some of my other videos. I have some strong opinions about ancient aliens that I'm going to be letting out. Plus, I might end up making this a new series that, if we're being honest, yeah, probably will include anime. So let me know what you think, and let's do this. So you are probably aware of ancient aliens in some capacity, whether or not you've actually sat down and turned on an episode. Most likely in the form of this meme, which yeah, kind of says it all. Aliens built the pyramids and Stonehenge and all that good stuff. That's kind of the crux of the whole ancient astronaut theory that the show is based on. That aliens at some point visited Earth and exerted some degree of influence on us, our culture, or development. And I'll say this, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not gonna chide you for that. I think there are definitely some interesting ideas with this theory, like the one that suggests maybe Earth was seeded for life in the distant past. It's a really neat concept, and on some level, it's worth thinking about. What I am going to chide, though, is Ancient Aliens as a show, and why at times it angers me quite a bit. And yet, it's also the closest thing I think I have to a guilty pleasure. I watch it because it's entertainingly stupid, in my opinion. The mental gymnastics the narrator and cast go through every episode is Olympic tier shit. It'd be downright impressive if it wasn't as equally infuriating. What bugs me about Ancient Aliens is that there comes a point when hypothesizing turns into just flat-out bullshitting. They hit that point, normally within the first minute or two. Example A.
Some stories attribute great powers to the moon.
The entire object may be of artificial origin. My question is, who built the moon?
I'm sorry. It's just so stupid. But it brings up one of my main problems I have with Ancient Aliens. They always present their viewpoint like it's a fact. Never do they give a counterpoint in any kind of respectable manner or even suggest that there is another scientific explanation. One of several talking heads will just spout out that this thing must be the result of aliens. Just because. For example, this bit about the moon being an artificial construct. They claim this because when we crashed part of the Apollo craft into the moon, it started ringing like a bell and didn't stop for about an hour. That is odd, but they say the only reason for this must be because the moon, or at least parts of it, are hollowed out and therefore aliens. So curious as I was, I decided to Google this, and immediately I found two articles, one of them from freaking NASA themselves, that give a much more, sane explanation. The reason, if you're curious, is that the moon doesn't have any moisture or natural dampeners like we have on Earth, so the vibrations are able to propagate for much longer. Think of the moon more like a giant tuning fork than a bell. Something doesn't have to be hollow to vibrate. There, a simple, sound, scientific explanation. But instead of trying to defend their viewpoint against this one, Ancient Aliens wants you to think there is no other explanation, so you're more willing to accept whatever ridiculous answer they put forth. They do this constantly, sometimes just outright lying. If you want more proof, I'll link the video that was made that's literally just 3 hours of someone debunking the claims Ancient Aliens have made. It's really good, and they go into far more detail than I will. But I do want to bring up just one more example of this show's ineptitude because, well, it hits close to home. But also because it's something they got wrong that literally has nothing to do with aliens, ancient astronauts, or any of that crap. If you've watched an episode, then you're probably familiar with how they sometimes introduce a segment. Typically, after referencing something before a commercial, they'll then come back and zoom in from a map to a place that contains some relevant piece of information regarding what they want to talk about. Sometimes it's a famous site or city, and sometimes it's some random place in the rural US. Well, I was watching the show one day and came across this.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. Here, at the Minnesota Historical Society.
Seems fine. Minneapolis is in the correct place on the map. That is the Minneapolis skyline. The only problem, though, is that the Minnesota Historical Society is in f***ing St. Paul. Yes, I know this because I am from Minnesota, and you can make all the jokes you want about Minneapolis and St. Paul being interchangeable. Ha ha ha, funny stuff. And that'd be fine if you were posting on Twitter or Facebook and got it wrong. But when Ancient Aliens is constantly throwing out downright absurd ideas and presenting them like they're the truth, how can they expect us to believe any of it when they couldn't be bothered to fact check something that took me 3 seconds to look up? It's a small detail, but it matters. Because supposedly they went there and filmed this B-roll bit and somehow didn't know they were in St. Paul? I don't get it. Maybe they preferred Minneapolis, Minnesota because, hey, it's alliterative. It's either that, or they made an assumption and didn't check or care enough to correct their mistake. None of which is acceptable for a show that wants to retain any modicum of credibility. And you know what? I think we deserve an answer. So I'm gonna need your help. This will all be in the description so you can copy it, but what I want you to do is tweet this to @AncientAliens and @Prometheus Entertainment, their production company. Would you care to tell me why in Season 10, Episode 1, Aliens BC, you say the Minnesota Historical Society is in Minneapolis? It's located in St. Paul. Did you not fact check this? I would like an explanation that doesn't involve aliens. Thank you. Now, I'm pretty sure this won't work, but I look forward to being proven wrong, and hey, at least we'll let them know that we're onto their BS. Plus, I kind of love the idea of mass tweeting a TV show. Rage and call to action aside, if you look at a lot of common criticisms of the show, then what I've said pretty much falls in line. But these things aren't necessarily my main issue with shows like Ancient Aliens. I dislike them far more for the kind of thinking they represent. Because if you actually step back and look at it, the idea of aliens did it is really just a quote-unquote scientific version of the creationist viewpoint. Both hinge on the logic of, well, you can't prove it didn't happen, can you? Therefore, my line of thinking is just as valid. Side note, God, I would pay money to see one of these ancient astronaut theorists debate Ken Ham. You know, the guy that Bill Nye had to endure? Make it happen. But back to the matter at hand, you can think this way if you want. Believe whatever you want to believe, I don't care. But you have to acknowledge that doing so limits your ability to expand your own horizon of thinking when it comes to science. Both of these viewpoints accept one extreme philosophy and don't think there is any alternative explanation or room for compromise, which is especially irksome when it comes to Ancient Aliens because they try to make it seem like their arguments are based around or grounded in science. They are not. Again, there are plenty of times where they either omit or are ignorant of basic facts when it is convenient for them. The show is just a bastardization of scientific reasoning, and I hate it. But what actually infuriates me the most about Ancient Aliens is what their views say about humanity at large. Not that we're willing to believe weird stuff like what this show pumps out, but just that, according to them, we did none of this. Look around. If you take them at their word, then pretty much all of humanity's accomplishments and failures are not ours alone. They were either influenced by or a direct result of alien involvement. And so what does that say about us if it's true? That we might still be twiddling our thumbs in caves if Papa Prothean hadn't come along and taught us everything? Don't get me wrong, there's no shame in asking for help, but this kind of thinking just undermines everything humanity has achieved in our short time on this planet. It fundamentally shits all over human ingenuity, and that's something unforgivable. We as a species have been capable of some truly horrible things, yes, but we've also done the extraordinary and worked to make every future generation better than the last. And by using ancient astronauts to shift responsibility, you are actively degrading your opinion of us as a species, whether you like it or not. Sorry, I got a little philosophical there at the end. And I'll say it again. I bear you no ill will if you watch or even if you enjoy this show, because I do as well. But I hope everyone watching this already just takes Ancient Aliens for what it is, entertainment and nothing else. And hopefully you primarily had fun watching me tear into this series and maybe found new reasons to dislike it. If you did, be sure to let me know and I might make more of these videos in the future. And feel free to let me know your thoughts on Ancient Aliens, be they the same or wildly different. And on that note, Thank you as always for watching, and an especially big thanks goes out to my awesome patrons, PenguinPandaZero, OverjoyedSoup, MVPino, James Morton, and everyone else for generously supporting me. If you would like to support me, you can click on the right to visit my Patreon page, you can click the left to subscribe, click the middle for more of my content, feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.